Hi, it's Jez here from Nigezza.co.uk. Thank you for joining me today on my channel for another junk journaling video. I am still doing my Edith Holden journal. It's nearly finished, not going to be many more episodes in it. And I am doing some altered cards today. These are the first ever altered playing cards I've ever done. Always meant to. I've been collecting cards to alter. And we were asked in the challenge on junk journaling for everyone to make 3, and for one of them to be what the person called a hope chest. So it was a card with an opening like so, with either a memory, a cause or a wish in it. She also showed us how to make ones that had pockets, but I quite liked this idea and I thought a little bit of journaling could go on there. And then the others were just along the theme of, I say, a memory, a cause or a wish. So this one, I loved the back of this card, but it was quite shiny. These are cards, I bought these in charity shop, 35p I think I paid. And they got some, it was sort of a form of happy families. And I quite liked the images. Some of them are not so nice, but some of them, I don't really like that one with the fish face, to be fair. But some of them I thought were quite cute. And I really liked the back, but as with a lot of playing cards, the plastic coated, they're quite shiny. So I wanted to sort of distress it a bit and make it not so shiny. So, and then I just collaged on the other side to cover it up completely, actually. This one, the cards are not plastic coated, which is fabulous. Again, from a charity shop, 25p these were. And these ones are not. They're just quite dull, really. So that's perfect. So that took some distressing ink quite nicely. And I didn't have to do anything else to it. And I chose to leave being able to see the card underneath. And just distressed and did a bit of stamping. So, and then just added a little bit on the top there. So that was quite cool. So I'm going to show you the different stages I went through. And I'm going to do one on a large card. So I bought these. I think I paid £2 for these. It would have been B&M or Home Bargains, somewhere like that. I'm not going to use the hearts. I'm going to save the hearts for my Alice in Wonderland. So I'm just going to do, I might do that one. Oh no. Then she changes her mind. I'll go for that one. I just suddenly had a thought, went, no, you're not doing that, Jess. So for this, it's quite shiny. I've experimented with different ways of dulling it down. I sort of made myself some clear gesso, used that. I got some sort of matte medium, tried that. Didn't really give me the results I wanted. I saw somebody using old patterns, you know, like the tracing paper in a pattern, and put that on it, which I quite liked. But that's the before and that's the after. Did both sides are the same, and I really like the way that has turned out. And what I used was and wouldn't you know it, I didn't get it out. Ready? I've got a little piece of it left here. I've got a bigger piece somewhere. So this was just a paper serviette, which I think I got it in a cafe. And I just thought, well, that was a nice colour, and that would work. That would give it the dulling down, be able to ink on top of it, and give it a nice vintagey colour. So that's what I did. So I'm going to find my bigger piece. So there we are. So just this very light sort of taupe colour, I suppose. Paper napkin. It was free. I did buy a packet. I did manage to get a packet, I think, in Tesco's that was plain, but they've got a little bit of detail in them. Let me show you. So, oh, it might have been Sainsbury's, and these got like a little bit of a linen look in them, which would give you a little bit of a different effect. But that was sort of what I was going for, to give it that sort of vintagey look. So this one got white on the back, but this one, so you get two pieces out of this one. So you just got to pull it apart, and you just want the one layer. I normally use a piece of sticky tape to do this, but I can feel that it's coming apart, so it's okay. So not bad for something that's free, which is what most junk journalers really like. Free or very cheap. That's what we like to use. So this one, I messed with it before it was actually dry. So quite simply, we are going to stick it down. So I'm going to get my little bit of, there it is, my little magazine, where it's a Stampin' Up catalogue. So I'm going to use a glue stick to go on this. I'm going to show you two ways, because I got two different effects. With the two different ways. So I'm going to show you how I did this one, and then I'm going to show you on this one, which was slightly different. So then I'm going to take my serviette or napkin, depending on what country you're watching in, you'll call it something different. So give it a little bit smooth over. I don't mind. Oh, that's what you've got to be careful of. So you need to go a little bit more gentle than I just did there. I don't mind, was what I was about to say, if I have a few crinkles, or indeed if it rips. So just going to cut this down. And then I applied some to the other side as well in exactly the same way. You can use other glues, but glue stick does, it's easier to get a smoother finish. And I am going to put more glue on top. So I'm not that worried. There we go. So I'm just going to cut the bulk off. So you can get quite a few from one serviette. If you're doing little ones, you'd get loads. You'd get less big ones. So keep that to one side. And then you can take the edges off. I'll just use a sanding block. And that gets the edges off. Nice and easy. I'll say some of the, you might pull off a bit, but as it's vintage, I don't mind. I quite like the edges might be being a bit rough and ready. I think it adds nicely to the look. So there we have it, all nicely glued down and looking dull, but it is not quite looking like this yet, so we need to make it a little bit darker. So that's when I bring in my PVA that I have added some colouring to it. I used a re-inker, and this one I think is Tim Holtz Vintage Photo. I put in this one. Any colour, any sort of brownish colour that you like would do. I'm using a silicone brush. I'm just brushing it over. So that adds another layer of glue. It adds a bit of colour, and it adds a bit of sealing to it, which I think will help protect it and make it last a bit longer. I like these silicone brushes because you don't have to worry about washing your brushes after you've been creating, because the glue will just dry and then it just peels off. So that appeals to my laziness, if I'm brutally honest. It appeals to my laziness. So did that, left it to dry before I painted on the other side, and you can see a little bit of wrinkling happening. As you can see, the effect we get there, but I quite like that. It doesn't bother me that. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and I'm going to show you how I created this one, which was slightly different. So if you compare these two and that one, they've all got a little bit of a difference. So that's how they started. This one was done one way and this way was done another, and I like how both of them turned out, but I think I prefer that one in a way to this one. And it is, if you look, I don't know if you can tell, but this one is a little bit more faded in the background than that one, and I felt that one looked a little bit more vintage. So the way I did it was I got out my sanding block again, move that out the way a sec, and I just did a little bit of a sanding over the top of this first. That gets rid of a bit of the shine, and it takes off some of the ink. So it's that was kind of how I got some of that. Look. So that's taken some of it off so you can see the difference between the two. It's quite a bit of difference there. So then I can't quite remember. I think I'm going to do a mixture of the both. I think I did that then exactly the same way as I've just shown you. But the other way is to use the PVA and not a glue stick. So I'm going to now apply PVA just to be a little bit different again. So I know lots of people do use PVAs or different mediums. And I just feel that because I've sanded it, the glue will grip to the card a little bit better than if I hadn't sanded it. So just put that over. It also adds a little bit of extra colour. Get a bit of this odd one. I'll stick that down. So this way you're going to get a bit more wrinkles. I think some people I've seen using sprayers over it to smooth it down. But I'm not over fussed with that. I like brushing it down. So again, I'm going gently with a silicone brush, which is nice and soft, very pliable. It's not like a really hard bit of plastic like the bone folder. So that's how I did this one. And I then dried it with my heat gun and sanded it again, which is why we've got some bits lifting off. And I think that's because it wasn't quite dry enough. So I'm going to leave this to dry properly before I do any sanding off. Yep. So put this off my page. And then because it's quite wet, I can just pull it off the edges. And I'm not going to sand this one down, you know, with the edges like I did the last one, until it's completely dry. So as you can see, it's curling up. That's because there's quite a lot of water in that glue, but it will flatten out. As you can see, that one's not curled up. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to dry, and then we'll do the next stage. Just put a bit more glue on there. So I'm going to bring you back to this big one where we started. So when it dries, I'll do exactly the same to the other side. And then I took my sanding block and I just did a little bit of sanding. To sand it back to make it smoother, because it is a little bit rough to the touch. And when I sanded it on this side, I could see where it wasn't quite dry enough and it did pull a bit up. But I don't mind. I think that kind of adds to the effect of it. So did that, and then just wipe off some of the edging. So I did do it a little bit more than I've just shown you, but this one's already done. So just until it's smooth enough. You don't have to do that that stage if you don't want to, but it does add a little bit more smoothness to it. And then I just went over with a blending brush and some ink. So I took crumb cake and I just added a little bit more colour to it and went over the top. And any wrinkles that are in there sort of gets picked up and it gets even more grungier and vintage looking. I have already done it on this one, so just doing it a bit more to show you. And then I just got my spongy dauber and my soft suede and went round the edges, just ink round the edges like so. But I have prepared this earlier so that I didn't have to have any waiting time for drying. That's what I wanted. So what I thought I'd show you on this, I quite like the back of the card as it is. I like the back of that one. I didn't cover it, I just covered the front. Likewise with this version, I liked the back. I did add a little bit of paper napkin to this. This one's already got a paper napkin. This one only required inking. Added some words, but I did this sort of peekaboo thing, and I thought that's what I'd do with this, is a bit of a peekaboo. And I thought I'd use some of the Edith Holden pages, some of the larger images, to peekaboo on this. And one of the things that I thought I would do was use some sort of love, sending love and prayers. And I quite like the fact of seeing, opening up the window and seeing the heart there, and having a little bit of journaling. So I've picked out some of these pages that have got images on both sides, because I figured this would be the bit that you would open. And what I fancied was one that had a bit of space that you could journal on, and I really like that Kingfisher even, and it's quite a large image, but I thought that would actually be okay on this card. It would cover it, and then there'd be room for journaling top and bottom if you wanted to. And some of the others, I kind of held it up to the light, and I could see that if I did that, I would have space up here and down there for journaling on, and that would be fairly nice on the other side. Likewise with these two, and I think this one gives us a really nice bit of journaling space around here. So I think I might go for this one, and that allows me to take the bottom of this, so I get most of the image, and it leaves that little lovely robin, which I adore, and I can use that for something else. So I think I'm going to go for this. Going to go for this one. So I'm putting that just looking on the underside where we get the most. If I look up to the light, I can see by looking through where it's going to be, and I get quite a lot journaling around there. So just looking, I want to conserve maybe that bird as well as that one, and the further over here it is, the more space I have for journaling. So I think that's what I am going to do. So I'm going to have, put that away, I'm going to have it level with the bottom. I was trying then to level it along the bottom, didn't do a very good job of it, to be fair. And this is kind of what I did with the other. I just used, I used some double-sided paper on this, and that's what I did. I drew around the card. So I'm going to get a pencil and draw around my card so I know where to cut it. to fit so we can see where the image is that's going to go on there. I'm going to use my trimmer because I want it to be quite accurate. So I'm going to hold that up the top there, and I can, if I put my glasses on, I can see where the pencil line is and line it up along this track. And go up as far as there. Yep. I've got a line on this, which is, I know I can line it up with this line I've drawn, and I know that that's where the blade ends, so it will stop, which is quite cool. I'm going to put that end up there because it's easier to start from there. That should be it. And then that means that I've got that intact if I wanted it for other things. So that's that. I might have to trim a little bit off because when you draw around something, obviously it's slightly bigger. Yeah, I'm just going to go the slightest smidge, although this doesn't particularly like very small smidges, but it managed. I'll take a really small smidge off this side. I can still see a little bit of the pencil. So I think that will work. And that's a really, I do like that image there. Yeah. I'd rather it was slightly smaller than I wanted than slightly bigger. Yep. That's working for me. So I need to round those corners. I'm going to use my trimmer again in a minute. So I've got a small corner rounder here, and that should be a nice match for the card. Is pretty good. I can see a little bit of the pencil mark there, but I can just rub that out. If I could actually see a rubber on my desk. Oh, there's one up there. There we go. I'll just rub some of that pencil off. So that's worked out nice, and I say I've got all that space then that can be journaled on the inside. So now what I want to do is to cut a little doorway in here, and you can do it by drawing the line and cutting with, say, a craft knife or something, or if you have a trimmer like this that allows you to start cutting anywhere on the track, that's quite easy to do. So I'm gonna score a line. So I'm going to put that to 1 inch. So I've got markings there. I'm going to put that to 1 inch there. I've got measurements down the side. I'm going to start at 1 inch there. And then it measures about 6 3/4. So I'm going to stop at 5 3/4 and do my sort of score line there. So that's where the fold's going to be. So now I know to go 1 inch that way. So with my trimmer, blade. I'm placing it there at 1 inch. It is about 4 3/4, so I'm going to stop at 3 3/4. And I say there's a line there to sort of tell me, and putting my glasses on might be a really good idea. There we go. So if I go to the inch there, that should have me starting where that is. And again, I'm going to stop down here at 5 3/4. Again, starting up there about 1 inch, coming down to 3 3/4. And we should be just about spot on. Just about is the word. I went slightly over there. It's probably when I didn't put my glasses on. And then that can get bent back. Once it's glued down, it doesn't matter. Those little mistakes that I've done won't actually matter. So that can get glued down there. Nice little pretty card. Open it up. I'm going to decorate with some words around there to do with love, and then we've got room there to journal on. So we've still got a little bit of an image that's going to frame your journaling, and I'll probably put a little word there. So going to get this inked a little bit. So what I find the Edith Holden book is quite yellow, I think, and I want a little bit of a grungier look. So I'm going to go over it with a bit of crumb cake first to distress it a little bit. And then I'm coming in with a soft suede, and I'm just going to ink round the edges. So that's that inking done, so that can get stuck on there, and that will open up quite nicely. And then I do like to do a little bit stamping, so I think I'm going to stamp over this with a bit of script. So I'm going to take my favourite script, which is from Very Versailles, and just do a little bit on here. Only got my really big, I've got some other stamps already mounted, so I've only got this big one. So I did add to this, I had some stamping of the words that I was going to be adding, and and I thought I'd do sending love and prayers, so, or sending love and hugs. And I'm going to use this stamp set, which is another one of my favourites, which is called Positive Thoughts. You've got these lovely images that I've used in junk journals. So we've got hugs, love and prayers there. We've got sending positive thoughts and feel good wishes, and we've got friends like you mean more every year. So what I like to do is I don't want all of that, so I'm probably going to just put some maybe positive thoughts at the top there. And I quite liked this because the Edith Holden she's quite a swirly script. It's quite nice, and I thought this is like handwriting, so I thought that would look quite nice. So I'm going to mask off some of this. I'm just going to stamp it down because I did do a bit of stamping and then I didn't clean it because, well, lazy crafter. So I'm going to get a bit of washi tape. So I'm just going to put, I just want to ink up positive thoughts. So I'm going to mask over, if I can find the edge of this. Mask over the sending, and then we've got to mask over the and feel good wishes. So we're just leaving what we want to stamp. So using my ink there, and then we peel off our washi and discard it. And so we've just then got positive thoughts, and then that can get stamped at the top there. So just got positive thoughts stamped there, so that really worked well. Quite like that. So that's ready to get stuck down. So now I've got my love hug prayers, and I might just put the love. Should I put the love in there? I want to separate these words. And the way I did it before was, you know, if you use a paper doily and you always use sort of like the bits around the edges and you're left with that in the middle, I think they're quite nice. It's quite nice, thin paper for creating little words with. So I can stamp there, me love hugs and positive thoughts, and then I can rip it up, and that's what I did on here. So I've got prayers there and I've got the love there. Didn't use the hugs. I used all three of them there. So that's just a way of using up the inners of your doilies. I mean, it might just be me that ends up with lots of doily inners. I've used them before for the bases of clusters. So nice and thin. So don't add too much bulk to your page if you've already got lots and lots of things on there. So there's a nice hug. Sometimes I make these and I just keep them in a little pot. We have friends. So I want that. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to mask off so quite like the way that's looking. We'll save prayers maybe for something else, one of the other cards. And then I've got a little bit of journaling space on there. I don't have a stamp that says journaling, but I do have thoughts, so I might do one with thoughts over there. And that can go on there, and before I use them I'm going to ink round the edges of them so they stand out a little bit more. So There we go, and then they just need sticking down. So using a little bit of Tombow, I think. So that's that done, and I just wondered if I might do a little bit of stamping in the background, and got little birds on there. Did have a little bird stamp. I've got these birds, which I think go really well. This is a retired stamp set, but I did get it thinking these little birds would go really well. And it would sort of tie in with the birds on the other side. Yep, I think that's enough. Liking that. Right, just put this away. Last thing I'm going to do then is glue this. I just want glue around these edges there to stick down. So I like that edge there showing, that side there showing, so you can see that it was once a card. We've got a beautiful Edith Holden image there. We've got a little hint there as to what we're talking about, and then we open up. We've got our journaling space there for our thoughts, and then we've got friends, love, hugs. So that would be, I would say, my wish. So that's my wish one, I think. Done. You could go around your sewing machine and sew around those edges. I might do that if I feel that it needs to doubly bonded, but that's a bigger version of that one. So you can make them bigger or littler. So then the other one I did was this one that I collaged on it and stuck the images. So this one hasn't got any space for journaling. It is just something decorative in your journal, and just a sort of a message. Maybe if you're making the journal for someone else, it's a message that you're giving them. So I'm going to use a bit of Edith Holden, I think, to do my collage. This one I just used book pages and stuff, but I'm going to use Edith Holden to collage on that. So I'm going to gather me bits. So I picked out this, and I just want a little bit to just go around two sides of the card to sort of give it a bit of a frame. So I'm just going to fussy cut this section of the Edith Holden drawing, which will fit, because I tried it out, on the card really nicely. So I'm just doing a bit of a rough fussy cut, not perfect. And then I wanted a little word to use, and in some of her descriptions there was the word humble, and I quite liked that. I thought that went with the themes, so I've cut that out. And then I need a little bit of collaging, so I've got a bit of encyclopedia paper there and a bit of vintage music paper, and I'm going to do it a really quick way. So I'm doing really random, sticking them together, ripping them apart, changing where that's going to get stuck. So it's just a good way, just a quick way of taking just two bits of vintage paper and putting it around without much thought, so that it is totally random. what you produce in the end. And then you can turn it over, and the other side you hadn't seen before, and that was perfect. So using glue stick and wet glue to adhere it to the card, because it's quite shiny, I wanted to make sure that it was well stuck, and stick those down, and then check any edges that aren't stuck. So we just trim the edges around the actual card, and then any bits of the collaging that missed glue, which is quite possible with this method, are just then stuck down, and I'm reinforcing the corners there with my corner punch. And then of course everything has to be inked, so giving it a distress fully and then going around just the edges. So all the bits of Edith Holden need inking, and then the edges of the card itself, and then just thinking about the placement. And then ironically I wanted a bit of doily with a bit of centre, so I had to kind of remake that one. It's a different centre, but so it's a slightly different colour, but I actually really like the way that turned out, so I may actually do that on purpose, because I think it gives it a really nice look there. So the darker centre and the lighter outside. So sticking those down, giving them a trim, and then adding the Edith Holden, and then thinking, oh, maybe a bit of cheesecloth, just sort of put a section behind where the words go in, then adding a little bit of caramel book page behind, just to give it a little bit more of a frame. So last bit of inking to put that on, and I just think that sort of creates a really nice little card for the journal. There's no section for writing on this one, it's just purely decorative, but I quite like that. So there they are. And so then there's just the card there that's not plastic coated, so that can just really easily be inked up, because it takes the colour really nicely because it's not plastic coated. So just inking everything up. I don't like the redness, I decide, so a little bit of sanding, a little bit more inking. Still not fully happy with it even when I've done it. Inking the edges, and then I get one of my favourite new stamp sets, these gorgeous leaves, which is actually what it's called, and so stamping that on, and a little bit of spots there to make it look a little bit aged. It's got this sort of bark stamp, which I thought would be good. I was just like trying to cover it, and although I quite liked the look of that, I wasn't totally happy. So then I decided to add a journaling word. So I've gone for memories. I thought that fitted the memory theme, and so I've gone for the one that I didn't infill so that I could use the colour of the ink. And then I decided, oh, why don't I just cover the whole back with some tea stain paper, and then it's somewhere to journal. So all that stamping that I did was just a waste of time, but I think we do that, don't we? We sort of play around and then change our minds and do something different, and that's okay. So just a little bit of stamping on it so that it's not plain, and I'm still going to add that word, and then I turn it over and realise the other side was actually really nice, but hey ho. So that's that done. So yeah, and then I just think, oh, a little bit of Edith Holden on the inside, because it hasn't got anything Edith Holden on it. So I've just taken that bit of paper napkin that I had and just put that little sprig and the butterfly on the corner to finish it off. So that is the 3 cards that I've done. And then I decided, you know, I really liked the way that looked with a bit of journaling on the back. So although I like the card backing, I'm just covering the centre section so that you've still got a lot of the card there, so you can see it is a plain card, but because it's so big, a nice little bit of journaling space there on the back, I think really works well. So now I'm just taking a bit of one of my words there and deciding where that's going to go, and I plumb for putting it sort of at the bottom to the side. yeah. I think I really am done now. So 2 that we can write on, 1 that we're not going to write on. So yeah, hope you like that. Hope you will have a go. And if you like to be inspired and you like a challenge, then why not pop over to Junk Journaling for Everyone. Nice little group there. And yeah, looking forward to the last task, which is making the cover of the journal, and then we'll be done and I can do a big reveal. Okay, see you again soon. I will link below to all the Stampin' Up products that I've used if you wish to purchase any of them, and I'll put some pictures over on my blog, nigezza.co.uk. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I am on a journey to 5,000. Might have reached it by the time this comes out, not sure. So if you want to see more junk journaling, once a week on a Wednesday, and then twice a week I do Stampin' Up videos. Okay, bye for now.